What's up, y'all? It's the Sound Alchemist. I don't know what I said y'all for, but I'm here once again with
Gershwan.
and today we're back to answer your questions in another enticing episode of For the Greater.
Yes.
That hurt.
Good.
It is good. I got it out.
This is a video series where we answer the questions left by you, the viewer. If you have a question for us, comment down below. Put a question in front of your question because we get to those questions first. And that is what Benjamin Manning did. He asks, which Imperial faction is the most powerful / influential within the Imperium of Man? That's a good question because the Imperium, their factions are really fleshed out to the point that even the ones that are not even represented on the tabletop, we have so much information on them, like the Novice Nobilite. Actually, this is a conversation that we had before, right?
Similar to it, yeah.
So what is your top faction, do you think?
I'm going back and forth between... Okay, so my reasoning for this one is because you need a defense system in order to, like, boost everything, I think. So, like, the whole thing is I'm thinking of the Imperial Guard. They're, like, humanity's main defense force. If you can't beat it with, like, elites, just throw numbers at them. And the whole thing about having a strong, Imperial Guard regiment is that's hope for the people. It's like, oh, look at those guys. They're not, well, most people don't know about Space Marines, but it's like, they're out there fighting for us. I got to try harder, doing what I'm doing. So I feel like that's pretty important. But at the same time, I also think that the ecclesiarchy is another thing like that because they also provide hope. They give you something to do on your very minimal time off, which is like praising the emperor. It keeps the human body and mind busy, not worrying about, are we going to get invaded by Dark Eldar, or is this where we're going to become corrupt or anything like that. So yeah, it's between those two.
Yeah, I agree. So the ecclesiarchy, the imperial church, is probably up there, just because it is kind of everywhere, and it has the support of a lot of individuals, and it's also moldable.
Oh yeah.
Especially when you look at certain planets, certain hive worlds, feral worlds that worship the god emperor, but they worship it in their own unique way. That's a representation of not a lack of unity, but instead of the flexibility that the imperial the ecclesiarchy, I forget what the Adeptus Ministorum can be like, and that flexibility is dangerous.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely think the ecclesiarchy is up there. The only one that I would add is the Novice Nobilite. They're the ones that are in charge of like the astropaths and the navigators.
Right.
Without them, you can't really travel.
No, and if you can't travel, you can't bring supplies, troops, etc. to certain planets that need it.
Yeah. But yeah, surprisingly, I don't think the Space Marines would be like considered the most powerful. I don't think there's enough of them, and they're more powerful like on the tabletop. They're awesome stories, but if there was an all-out civil war like the Space Marines, they just don't have the, I don't know, like resources, but like
it's like
they're not even human kind of thing.
Right. This one's an interesting one by Anime San. Apart from possibly becoming a god, what other theories are out there that you think will happen for the revival of the Emperor? So yeah, just because the Emperor revives himself doesn't mean he's going to attain godhood. He could just come back as, the man, the god king, the Emperor. Well, not god king, but, he's being praised as a god, but he could still be a god in human form. Yeah. So he'll also be as powerful as he was during the heresy. At least I would assume so, seeing as that like he's a perpetual. And as far as I know, perpetuals don't lose strength every time they revive. I mean, look at Vulcan. He was killed over and over and over again, being tortured by curs, and it seems that he was still as strong as he was every single time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think he might just come back as a regular man.
Yeah. Also, like, in order for him to return, I still think that the other Primarchs need to have been found. So, because that is what the Wolf Time calls for. That is what Vulcan's, like, scavenger hunt thing is supposed to do. So we need to see that, hopefully, before the other ones. I don't know if GW wants to do that. It would make sense if they want to, like, prolong something. But, yeah.
I mean, it sucks for us because it's like, oh, then does that mean we won't ever get to play as all the Primarchs in our lifetime? Is this something that's going to happen like 50 years down the line or whatever, 100 years?
That is true, yeah.
Yeah.
What if we die and we never see the Emperor return?
We'll see him as we join the Army of the Light.
Oh, yeah. With Lupe Fiasco.
Mm-hmm.
Next question comes from Gideon Greider. Did the Primarchs even question how they were his sons, but all apart? Did they know that they were spread by chaos? I think most Primarchs understood that they were different. I mean, they went from, babies to like full-grown adults, stronger than most people on Earth, like in a matter of a couple months.
Right.
They must have been like, oh yeah, there's a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of them were connected to the warp and connected to the Emperor in that way. Like, I think, what was it, Magnus the Red knew who he was before he even arrived.
Kurz had the visions.
Perturabo, I think, was somehow connected. It's either he saw the Eye of Terror or he saw the Emperor. I can't remember.
Or maybe it's one and the same.
Yeah. But yeah, so, and then for all those that didn't know, he just explained them.
Mm-hmm.
He sat them down.
Yeah, it's like, Angron, I know you're angry, but let me preach to you.
I just took you away from an entire revolutionary group that you were leading, and then they're probably all dead because I did that, but hold on.
Yeah. You're this now.
Yeah.
These are your boys now.
Yeah.
And it's like the captains go in there to try and introduce themselves.
Yeah.
Until Karn goes up.
Did he do that?
Yeah.
Oh, he killed most of them?
Yeah. I remember there's like stories saying that like the captains and like the rest of like the world, well, before they became world eaters, what were they called? The dogs? War dogs or something like that?
Warhounds.
Warhounds.
I think.
Yeah, they're like talking amongst themselves, saying like, "All right, it's your turn. Go talk to him. Try to calm him down," and he'd never return. So yeah, that's funny.
Damn! Imagine all the great generals, the Terran-born generals that he killed.
Mm-hmm.
Next question.
This one's by Defool06. So if Gersh has the ability to absorb his balls into his body, where does his stuff and his pee go?
So it's just a cavity. It's an internal cavity inside my body. That's where it goes. But it still is maintained in the balls. It's not like when my balls absorb into me, it's not like they diffuse.
Right, they're still there.
Yeah, it's not osmosis.
Think of it as like a snail or a crab going into its shell.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I mean, what happens to your stuff and your pee?
It just goes in there within the cavity. Because I think you're thinking of like fusion, like Dragon Ball Z when they go fusion hot. What is that called?
The fusion dance.
Oh yeah, it's not like that. Mm-hmm. So
it's like putting on the Patara earrings.
Not like that.
Not
either.
like that either.
No. So maybe I shouldn't say fuse into myself. Maybe I should just say absorb. No, because
that's like Majin Buu. Well, no, that's kind of right. Because when Majin Buu absorbs people, they're still in him in those little like cocoon things.
Oh yeah, so it's exactly like Majin Buu.
Mm-hmm.
That is what my pelvis is. Next question comes from Rabid Fanatic. He has a really cool thumbnail too. Looks like a tech priest. Which Primarch is more likely to return in 9th edition? My money's on Sanguinius.
I hope so, yeah. We keep saying or keep thinking it was a lion and like Yamerito, but no.
Yeah. And I think what's been happening is that when people put out rumors of like, oh, this Primarch is returning, he goes to Forge World. And it's not really returning, he's showing up in Forge World.
Which I guess those rumors are kind of right, but not in 40K. The sense of 40K, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, Forge World, I think they might have like one model left.
For Primarchs?
Yeah.
Who?
I think is it Jagdtai Khan?
Yeah, probably, because I don't think they have a Jagdtai Khan.
Yeah, I think there's only one left from the Horus Heresy line. And then maybe we'll start getting the rest of them.
The Lost Primarchs. They should, like, Forge World should come out with a build your own Lost Primarch kit.
Oh, that'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be expensive as heck with all the options and stuff.
I would buy it, though.
Yeah. They'll probably give you like one leg option just so you're like, you have to buy multiple in order to do it over and over again.
Yeah.
This one's by Simon Teese. If instead of half the legions not rebelling and only one or two falling to chaos, what would the Imperium look like today? And would the Emperor still be alive?
So, if the Great Crusade would have continued, the goal was to make humanity the #1 ruler in the galaxy. Mm-hmm. So the Tau Empire wouldn't exist. And I think the biggest threat, like let's say in like, I don't really know. I think, because then that also means that the Webway project would have been completed, and I'm pretty sure that the Eldar wouldn't have been like, oh, you humans discovered the Webway, cool.
Yeah.
Welcome.
They'd be a bigger threat.
Oh yeah, so the Eldar might be like enemies, pretty big enemies with the Imperium, but then the Tyranids would have showed up, the Necrons would have been there, Chaos would have gotten stronger.
But I mean, at that point, there'd still be, a whole bunch of loyalist Space Marines and Primarchs still alive. Because 1 or 2 deferring to Chaos isn't going to do much.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been way more powerful. I think eventually, though, the goal of the Emperor was to get rid of the Space Marines. And I don't know if the arrival of, like, the Hive Fleets would have been like, wait, hold on. Okay, never mind. Don't get rid of the Space Marines. We need them to fight the Tyranids. Yeah.
Do you think the Emperor would kind of, like, lie and say, oh, no, it looks like the Blood Angels have turned to Chaos, and then, like, send all of them against it? Like, oh, the Chaos Taint is corrupting my sons one by one. And that's his way of systematically killing off Space Marines by having Space Marines fighting Space Marines.
That's a huge possibility. So, yeah.
I think eventually they'd catch on.
Who, the Space
Primarchs,
Marines?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, all right, we just killed out 4 of our Chaos-corrupted brothers. Like, something's not right.
Yeah, but again, I think it would be like a penitence thing.
Or he'd be like, traitor, he's starting to think, chaotically.
Differently, yeah. We could speculate for days what would have happened if the Great Crusade would continue. And there's so much, too.
Yeah.
Because, like, what would have happened? I do think that the Eldar, or not the Eldar, the Tau Empire wouldn't exist.
He's got a follow-up question. Apart from Inquisitors, Grey Knights, and other Space Marines, who else would be saved after an Imperial war between them and a Chaos Force?
What do you mean?
Yeah, I'm not really too sure what that would like. So, apart from Inquisitors, Grey Knights, and Space Marines, who else would be saved after an Imperial war between them and Chaos?
If there's like another civil war, I don't think any faction is safe.
Right.
They're all good. They could all be corrupted. Yeah. I think that's what you're asking.
Maybe.
Next question comes from Digital Sigma. Do you think that the Orcs could be do you think the Orcs could kit bash a Tau mech suit with Orc tech to make an Orc mech? Yes. If you don't follow us on Instagram, go over there right now. The Sound Alchemist purchased an army where it was Tau and Orc mixed, and it had like 9 battle suits that were kit bashed into Killicons.
Yeah.
And they looked phenomenal. They looked way better than regular Killicons.
I think that's the thing about Orc, like, machinery and stuff. It's just, like, not really well put together. Because they do look like cans with, like, arms.
Yeah. But yeah, the guy put wheels instead of...
like legs?
Yeah. And it looks really cool. It even had a magnetized stuff. So it looked really cool.
Yeah. It's on the playlist for our army showcases.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
It's on there.
Next question. This one comes from Were King.
Their king.
Will we ever see the return of the SCI Titans? And is there a model for it? Probably not. Not anytime soon. Well, actually, that's a lie. Because maybe there's a specific game for them now.
Right. I think Forge World might even have some. But it's using 7th edition rules.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, SCI Titans are just a specialist type of Titan.
Yeah.
Next question.
This one is by Donkeysaurus Rex. If the Emperor had lived, the Tau homeworld would have been colonized by humans. Oh, if the Emperor had lived, then the Tau homeworld would have been colonized by humans before there was any Tau. However, the Emperor was able to make peace treaties with the Eldar and even the Orcs. So if he were to come back now, I have to think that he would be open to it. Heck, there's even some possible value to the Empire in letting the Tau indoctrinate some less problematic Xeno races into the greater good so that they might be allowed due to some minor expansion at the Emperor's discretion.
No, there's only one race that was allowed into the Imperial Army, and that was the Jacaro weaponsmiths. And it was because they're not even they're still animalistic.
Right.
They can barely speak. So they're more like dogs, really intelligent dogs.
Like if your dog could make you a Green Lantern ring.
Basically, yeah. But also didn't speak, and you had to feed it every day, and it would shit in the living room.
Because it's too busy building the ring.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a good trade-off. All right, I'll let you poop anywhere you want. Just make me a Green Lantern ring.
That is kind of cool, yeah. And all the other, like the Beastmen, the Ogrins, the Squats, those are all abhumans. So they come from human stock. Right.
Think of them as like mutants from like X-Men.
Yep. But less cool.
That's true.
So I don't think. And he never made a treaty with Orcs. He never made a treaty with the Eldar. He spoke to them, and like there was negotiations. But at the end of the day, like Olonor Crusade was a complete destruction of the strongest orc empire in all of the galaxy. There was no alliance. There was no treaty. It was just like, we're going to kill you. Yeah, so I don't think the Emperor is as, what's the word? Accepting?
Yeah.
As people think.
Right. I mean, if he was accepting, it was just a ruse to allow humanity to prosper afterwards.
Yeah. The only thing that, like, he might be interested in Big Booty Tau, but it took them a while to get to that anyways.
That's true.
Because, squats. It takes a while to do a bunch of squats.
Mm-hmm.
Next question.
This one's by Dante Vaal. Isn't it suspicious that the Grey Knights don't have any Primaris Marines? Do you think that they'll have some execute Order 66 shenanigans? Because Custodes are surely having fun killing them, as we all know. Wink, wink.
I don't know what you mean by the wink, wink part.
So I think you're referring to that one short story where the Custodes were killing the Primaris Marines?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
I thought they were killing the Grey Knights. I was like, wait, what?
That's what I was thinking too, but I'm thinking if Custodes are having fun killing them, I'm pretty sure you're talking about Primaris. So yeah, the Custodes are really easy to turn on the Primaris. Not just that, but also in Space Marines in general. Like it's specifically stated that he feels that the Space Marines are more fighting for themselves than for the betterment of the Emperor's vision of humanity. So because of that, they're really easy to turn on them. Which I could see that happening more for Custodes because they already have that mindset. With the Grey Knights, it's a little bit different because they're not meant to be good at fighting against other Space Marines. They're meant to destroy chaos demons. They use their warp powers specifically against warp creatures. That's why their smites work differently than Space Marine smites. It only does 1 damage, 1 mortal wound, unless you're a demon of chaos, which then it does 3. So that's different. I don't think that's a thing that's going to happen, the whole Order 66, because again, they're not meant for that. That being said, I think they will be getting Primaris. Just, again, I think it's not like GW putting all their eggs in one basket. Just they're going to be giving us all these things, piece by piece. Yeah.
Yeah, and also remember that the Grey Knights gene seed was created during the Horus Heresy. Mm-hmm. So it actually it doesn't come from a Primarch.
Right. It comes from the Emperor himself, allegedly.
And the whole, Primaris Marines started with the templates of the gene seeds.
Yeah,
of the Primarchs,
gene seed of the Primarchs, yep.
Yeah, so if it took 10,000 years, it might take another, well, it's 10,000 divided by 20, right? Because there's 20 Primarchs. Mm-hmm. So however many years for it to, do a Grey Knights, if the Grey Knights even want Primaris.
Right. Which why not? You're essentially stronger, tougher, probably stronger psychically.
Yeah, maybe. But they're already so badass.
Dude, imagine if Drago became a Primaris. That's Emperor V2 right there.
I'm pretty sure he will.
Yeah.
But also, the Grey Knights have taken a back seat right now. The last person was when Gilliman came back, and there was that one
Voldus.
Yeah, that's about it. Even though that model looked really badass. Mm-hmm. If anything, we're just getting new models.
Right. But, they'd have to be up to scale.
Aren't the Grey Knights?
No.
Because they're Terminators, right?
They're Terminators, yeah. So
they're supposed to be bigger, not Phobos, what's the other one? Bigger armor, basically.
Reaver? No, I think that's more, it's smaller. It's more tactical.
But yeah.
Yeah. You know what we mean.
Yeah. Hopefully. Next question. I have one from Eric Cartman. What was the Emperor's vision for human worlds? Would would we still see hive worlds, forge worlds, each planet being its own self-sufficient environment? Yes. The Emperor's idea was to like create kind of like city-states kind of situation,
right?
Where each planet was its own planetary, it had its own planetary governor, and it answered to the grander Imperium in the form of tithes. So similar as what we have now.
Right, except without the need of space marines and all that other mumbo jumbo.
And no adeptus ministorum, no belief in any type of religion.
Right, all logic.
Because who can relate?
Right. Joe Davidson, do you think we'll ever get to see what the outcome of the Oricon Tiernan battle will lead to? Maybe some monstrous orcoids or gaunt gene stealers that grow while in combat? I don't know. They've been fighting for a long time.
Who? Wait, what?
The Orcs and the Tyranids.
Oh. Yeah, I think if GW ever wants to do something cool and special, like, they can make some really, like, huge orcs that are supposedly, like, fighting the Tyranids. I could see them as, like, savage orcs, and they're just, like, covered in chitin armor and stuff like that. Also Tyranids that are special, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of these storylines that 40K currently has going, most of them lead nowhere. And it's like they should.
When it comes to Xenos, yeah.
But it's like, because if they're advancing the timeline, and we're seeing it in the eyes of the Space Marines, it's like, shouldn't these other things also be advancing too?
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially with God School. Like, God School shows up, and you're like, wait, no, God School was fighting over with the Tyranids. What happened there?
Right. It's like, oh, they're still fighting. It's like, well, why is he fighting the freaking Space Wolves?
Yeah, why is he here? He died.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
They all die.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
This would be the last question. Do you got one?
Yeah, did we do this one? No, we didn't do this one yet. Owen Siskel. Can Space Marines die from old age?
Technically, yes, but technically, no. They are biologically immortal.
To a degree?
Right. So they will deteriorate to the point where, like, they have to, like, just, the gene seed has to stop. But that's never going to happen, or the Space Marine is never going to reach that just because
of what they are.
Yeah, they're meant to fight.
Yeah, they're going to fight, kind of like orcs. Orcs can live on forever, but they're going to fight each other.
It's like finding an athlete that has never had an injury. Like, no, I highly doubt that has happened.
Right. But I think there was a story where there was like an
in stasis.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that story.
Maybe it got retconned already.
Yeah. Those were the questions for today. If you guys have more questions for us, or if you asked us a question and we didn't get to it, please ask again. We enjoy talking to you guys, and thank you for listening.
As always, I'm the Sound Alchemist,
Gersh1,
and we will be watching Bridget B right after this.
Always used to put my freedom first in any situation.